Good morning and let's wake up. That's what it is, and my name is Winston. And today's affirmation comes out of II Chronicles 31 verses 20 to 21. So before this, it speaks about how King Hezekiah worked with those that were in ministry, that were in the temple, how they worked with the tithing and the offerings that were provided to the temple by the king himself and those that were in fellowship in and at that temple. Okay. However, it boils down and it comes down to these last two verses when it speaks about that time. This is what Hezekiah did throughout Judah, doing what was good and right and faithful before the Lord his God. 21. In everything that he undertook, in the service of God's temple and in obedience to the law and commands, he sought his God's work wholeheartedly, and so he prospered. Okay, so what I can say thus far is that sometimes, when somebody seems as though they're a great achiever, they're doing the most and they're achieving everything. Just think of your favorite celebrity like The Rock or Jay-Z or Christina Aguilera. I don't know why I said Christina Aguilera. Like, who still listens to Christina Aguilera? In any case, whoever your celebrity is and they've achieved great things, a lot of times we pay attention to what they achieved and don't necessarily pay attention to how they got there. And how they got there is probably the most important part, because that to us speaks about their discipline. And that is what I would like to pay attention to today in terms of today's sort of message. I kind of entitled it that discipline determines your destiny. And I've shared this before on a different platform, but let's share it now over here, much more condensed and much more focused on what I would like to get across. So how does discipline determine your destiny? First off, let's look at the characters of what discipline actually looks like. And that we can look at a wife of noble character. That's sort of descriptive text in Proverbs 31, verses 10 to 31. You can read that passage on your own time. However, what it focuses on there is the type of characteristics in discipline that we should also strive towards, each and every one of us. And that is, number one, to get the job done, no matter the cost, no matter how long it takes you, regardless of what challenges you face, is to get the job done. Number two, work tirelessly and work towards getting a profit. Also, delay gratification. Just because you did a workout at the gym for an hour doesn't mean that you should go and get yourself a Big Mac. No, it doesn't, Winston. No, it doesn't. Bad boy. Delay gratification. Participate in the larger community. Doing this walk, a disciplined walk on your own, it's okay, but you're going to need other people around you as well to hold you accountable. Spoke about that previously. And then shares your profits. Sharing is caring, guys. Nothing harms you by giving towards a non-profit. Nothing harms you by giving towards an activity that's doing good and influencing people to better their lives. Share your profits, whatever that is, your time, if you've got excess time, if you've got excess finances, etc. Share your profits. And most importantly is having no fear of the future and having no fear in the actions that you're doing in this disciplined walk. This disciplined walk could, for example, be your faith. Knowing that you are serving a greater God, knowing that you are serving a God that has no bounds and has no limits. Don't fear in your walk of faith. I think that a lot of things that keep us away from being disciplined in our walk of faith is the things that we fear most. Will there be repercussions if I did this or did that? There probably will be, but know that you have grace and know that you can get back up on your feet and continue your walk in discipline, continue your walk in faith, continue doing what you do best with discipline. And what I've been speaking about this now, but what are the sort of restrictions they are? So now we spoke about discipline, but let's now focus on being on our destiny and what restricts us from achieving our destiny. Number one thing that I've realized in my life, personally, is the character of those people that are around me. Definitely, the people around you have an influence over your life. So therefore, if you are somebody that has great influence, use that as you have the responsibility to influence other people around you by doing good and them sort of reflecting that good that is within you, that you demonstrate. Them reflecting the good that you demonstrate. Okay, is the people around you. Also, is the way that you respond to being disciplined. I know that growing up without a father in the house, I've had many fathers outside of my own personal home, but growing up without a father, definitely I was one, quick to anger, all of those bad little character traits, but knowing that how I responded to certain situations definitely restricted me from achieving my destiny, from prospering in certain ways, from getting ahead in certain areas. I didn't like to be disciplined. I never liked being disciplined, but obviously as I grew older, finding Jesus and walking this walk of faith, knowing that God is with me and knowing that there are repercussions for what I do, what I say, who I spend my time with, etc. Knowing all of that now as a grown man, yeah, you can hear the bass in my voice. What else restricts you from achieving your destiny is how quickly you get back up on your feet. Yes, you've been knocked down through a couple of challenges. Yes, you've been deterred a certain way, swayed by other people's deception, etc. But how quickly can you bounce back up on your feet and be like, okay, cool, you know what? I got this. I know what it takes to get back on my feet. I know what it takes to get back into this path of discipline, this walk of discipline, this walk of faith, and I know what it takes for me to reach my goal. Now, coming back to how discipline and our destiny meet one another, is that there are three elements that we need to ensure that we have in our day-to-day lives so that we can move from discipline and achieving our destiny. Number one is the fact that we need to have vision. I'm reminded of the story of the potter in the Bible, for example, where the clay didn't turn out the way the potter wanted it to turn out. The potter simply just reformed that entire bundle of clay in the type of pot that he wanted. It may not have looked the same as though the previous pot that he intended on creating, but the vision is still there to create a pot, to create a vessel. All right? In the same way, we are vessels of God's light, and our light, and the light within us needs to shine through us. Amen? Amen. So you have to have vision. And number two is you must have intent. Now, what is intent? Intent is that point, the precipice, Google Dictionary, the precipice of action. Intent is that point where just before action happens. I'm reminded again about a story in the Bible where Jesus asked this man at the pool is, do you want to get well? That there confirms that man's intent. Do I want to get well? Do. A doing word. Do is a doing word. Man, I'm taking you guys on an English lesson today. Do I want to get well? Do I want to get better at what I'm doing? Do I want to achieve my destiny? And the answer is yes. If the answer is yes, put it into action. And that brings us to the last one, which is having the means to do so. Now, the means can be various things, and yes, sometimes getting to the means may be a challenge depending on our circumstances and situations, but the means is simply this. It's the tools and the resources that you have at your disposal right now to put your vision and intent into play. Our resources can be our time. Our resources can be determined as our habits, our daily habits. What type of habits do you have right now that is affecting your vision that you have for your life? I know that God has a plan, but in order for God to execute his plan, we need to pray into our vision. And also the character that you have comes back to that. We need to have a character of discipline. We need to have a character of wanting to change. Now, in order for you to build your destiny, obviously, we need to have Jesus at our side from the get. I've shared this before, is that before you even plan on doing something, you need to put prayer into that, whatever you're doing, and have God with you from the start, from the jump, and not only depend on God when it's getting difficult. You need to have him there from the jump, from the very beginning. All right, so just to recap is the fact that in order for us to achieve and prosper, we need to have discipline. But in order for us to achieve our destiny, we need to make sure of the restrictions that we have in our own lives, take that into consideration, then point out what our vision is, what our intent is, and what are the means that we have around us. It sounds like Vim. We need to bleach out all the bad. Vim. Who remembers Vim, the granular bleach? Wow, that takes me back to my great-grandma's house, actually. We need to have vision, intent, and the means to execute towards our destiny. And in doing so, having God with us from the very jump. What the call to action for this week is for you to determine within your life right now where you can demonstrate more discipline. And in so doing, find ways in which you can prosper towards your destiny. Okay? It might be a mouthful, it might be a challenge for some of us, but take these little steps. Go back to Proverbs 31, read up about the noble wife. Look at the characters that they speak about in there. Try and take that, apply it to your life, and then see where it takes you. It can only do you good. All right, everybody, that was me, Winston, and I'm out. Peace.